Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, this is me taking weekends off. This is me just relaxing on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, yesterday was a special occasion. DCC invited me on the show, so that was a blast. If y'all didn't check that, very, very fun, very cool, very good time there. However, today, I think I made some progress on the script that I technically started working on when I was playing with Ethereum Testnet a couple months ago. And I was saving like I did in preparation, right? I love compound interest. You guys know that. And I was like, okay, I need to practice with Ethereum. I'll do a script and maybe I'm sure I'll be able to reuse it, just change some stuff, make it work for PulseChain Testnet. Turns out that is correct. I completely changed the script in a lot of different ways, but at least I was able to get a skeleton together, testing things, fill it out. I've been testing it a bunch of times in the last few days, and I finally looks like I've tweaked it enough to get it to everything the client seemed to be working and all that. So I feel I still need to test a little bit more. I don't want to put anything out there that breaks over this or that. I'll try not to, at least. So, but today I wanted to go through it. I have a code share that I'll be scrolling through it, and it does all the stuff you need to set up a validator using Geth, aka GoPulse, and Lighthouse. And yeah, it does pretty much everything you can automate within a script within reason. It does for you, as long as you got a server set up and you got Ubuntu. And I did it on my cloud. It may be different on a standalone machine, but it does pretty much everything for you, except the last couple of things you need to do by yourself. Upload the validator deposit file, make your deposit, generate your keys. It doesn't do that because you need to do that on a separate machine anyways. But it does everything else pretty much. So I will be walking through that. But before we get into it, say hi to the chat. John D, welcome. Good to see you. Glad you could join us on this wonderful set. I'm not okay. Mark it down. I'm not streaming Monday and I'm not streaming Tuesday unless PulseChain launches or something. Anytime, unless it launches, I'm not streaming for the next 2 days because this is 7th day in a row. I need a break. But I definitely want to talk about this because this is important and hopefully can help some people. Again, I haven't released the code for the script yet. I want to test it a little bit longer. But if you want access to it, all I need is your GitHub username. So just register a GitHub account, just like GitLab, but it's GitHub. I like it better for different reasons. And send me your username in the chat if you want access to the code, and I'll add you to the private repo after the stream, and you can get access to it and test it out and all that stuff. Going down the line, TDS Lane, welcome to the show. Chris T805, elbow cough, welcome as well. Lawrence Rowland, welcome to the show. Oi mate, what's happening? Feel my pulse. I like it. I like that logo as well. What's up? No weekends off. I know. That's my nickname right now. No weekends off, Max. I like that. It's welcome Okari. Jerry Misha. Que pasa way is que pasa to you, hombre. Good to have you. Hombre, I forget. I used to know some Spanish. Thinking the different words. Yeah, I don't know so much anymore. But welcome. You love compound Giphy Kool-Aid approved. Yeah. Crypto Kool-Aid and Gifford Ware. Pretty awesome. Yeah, Palm Sunday. That's right. Yeah, next Sunday is Easter. So I definitely ain't going to be streaming next Sunday. I do take holidays off. I'll say that. I try to take those a little bit more seriously because you don't have to believe in the holiday to, spend it with friends and family. And if you believe in it, there you go. You got double reason to take it off. French Made Bullies. Welcome back. Let's go PulseChain. Hi, Jim. Hi there. Literally walking off the summit, take me home, RHMax. Nice, man. Nice. I can imagine you're walking on a beach, just enjoying yourself. It's like 70, 75 degrees, maybe 90, whatever's comfortable for you. And yes, hope you're having a good time over there. All right, I will start sharing the screen and we'll get into it. First, let's take a look and see if Richard tweeted anything significant lately. I feel like I need some kind of Twitter. Make this feature where anytime Richard tweets the word PulseChain or update, you notify me. I guess I could probably write something to do that, but otherwise he's just retweeting a bunch of other stuff, some of which is interesting, but it's not PulseChain updates, so not super relevant here. Whew, those Lambos look nice, don't they? So nice. Love it. Let's see. Been retweeting Hexkins lately, so that's cool. Yeah, everyone, if you haven't watched his playlist on his YouTube, go watch all his self-help, self-development, health, wealth, wisdom videos. That's what I first started watching of him six years ago now. It really got me into him and his mission and all that, and it's fantastic. So, yeah, it's these videos. I try to watch them myself at least once a year. I'll go through the entire playlist. It takes about an hour or so, but good stuff. Good stuff. I don't see anything PulseChain related. You all let me know if he tweets during that time that we're here. It's happened before. And let's also take a look at the Hex price real quick. Let me refresh here. Let's also take a look at the liquidity pool and estimated value and stuff like that. Assuming my internet works. Yeah, that was an old one. I just had the tab up from before. See what we're looking at real quick with the ticker that you can trade today. Hex.com. 8 cents, 20 million. Liquidity. 11 million volume. That's looking pretty healthy. I got to say, not financial advice in any way, shape, or form, but looking like health especially compared to 3 months ago. Very cool. Here's different liquidity pools for Hex. All that good stuff. I have a script. Anyone, let me know if you haven't seen the script yet that tracks liquidity pools and lets you do stuff with that, because that could be important going into launch. Could give you some indications if you're seeing liquidity start getting pulled. I wrote code that can help you have those kind of track those sort of stats and all that. So let me know if you haven't seen it yet. It's on my Twitter. I've also shared it on stream a couple times before as well. Cool. Let me look at the chat one more time before we get into it. Oh, cool. I'm primary. Oh, that's right. I didn't recognize it at first, Kool-Aid. I didn't at first, but now there you go. Mother trucker. Welcome, Kool-Aid. Welcome, good to see you. Just Hex a lot. Pulse launch 5523 555. You know, you never know. That's close enough to mid-May to me. Close enough. All right, everyone. If you've ever seen code before, then this may be easier for you. If you haven't, please try to follow along. So this is a script. Again, if you want access to it, just somehow get me, either tweet at me or put it in the chat. Probably best to tweet at me, because I'll have it for later, so I don't have to copy it afterwards and I may miss it. Tweet at me at RHMaximalist. Here's my GitHub username. I can give you access to the script, the repo that has a script along with a couple other helper scripts, and you can test it out yourself. But we'll be walking through it here, and it'll basically tell you, walking through the code will tell you exactly how validators are set up. I'm gonna go through each line by line, tell you all about it. And first we'll start with the comments. Look, Max writes good comments, doesn't he? So comments are there in the code to help you. They should be helpful to explain what the script does, how it works, any dependencies, any caveats, how to use it. You got to be careful not to write a book, but also if you don't write enough and you don't have it documented elsewhere, you know, there's different philosophies. Do you want to be self-contained? Do you want it to be paired with another piece of documentation? I may write a blog on this to go into detail to kind of pair with the script as well. But for now, I want to be fairly self-contained to give you enough so you can at least wrap your head around what's happening. So this is a PulseChain Testnet v3 validator setup script, and it was tested on Ubuntu Linux. I'll go tell you more about that as well. But let's see. Yeah, let's go through the description. So description installs the prerequisites: Golang, Rust, Go Pulse, which is the Geth fork, Lighthouse on a fresh, clean Ubuntu Linux OS for getting a v3 validator node set up and running. So I put this in today. This script does not install monitoring metrics packages such as Grafana and Prometheus. So it doesn't do that. Maybe I'll update it later to do that. We'll see. I kind of wanted I don't want to complicate it too much, but those are things a lot of people like to have and are good for devs to see what's going on. And I need to go through the process a little bit more myself, but it does not currently do that. So you can call stuff like that out. And then this is kind of for people who aren't familiar with code that much. Basically you just take the script, you put it into a .sh file, a shell file. You chmod executable it to make it executable so you can run it instead of read write. We want it to be executable. And then you can use it. So here's the usage. You /, that means run this thing, the file. And then this is where your Ethereum fee address goes, where you want the fees to go that your validator earns. And this is your server's IP address to do things that the client needs. And the only two specific things that you need to tell the script in order for it to set up things properly. And again, yeah, these are the command line options, basically just what I said, and it elaborates on a little bit more. And then throughout using the script, there's a couple, depending on your OS, and at least you may have to hit enter one time. I could probably automate it, but it's not a big deal for the Rust installation, I believe. And then, so I've been using EC2, the Amazon Cloud Services, to spin up servers whenever I need them. You should be able to use this at home just the same. You just got to make sure on your home firewall to also forward the ports, not just locally. And I did that with my security groups on EC2. And this is kind of just, I explained why you may have to enter through this. So again, I tested this on Ubuntu 22.04, and this was with a M2 2x large virtual machine instance, whatever you want to call it. Those are specific to, that tells you, I threw up a chart the other day, but basically it's like, I think 32 gigs of RAM, eight virtual CPUs, stuff like that. Basically the minimum specs in order to have a good time when you're validating. And then use it with a non-root user. So Ubuntu is, if you're using the cloud, Ubuntu is the default user for that. And it needs to have sudo privileges because we use sudo in order to run the script. Pretty basic stuff. So the script does not do everything. There are a couple things you need to do afterwards. I try to call them out. I also try to put them in the script to print on the screen as well. Two basic things to do afterwards. It does everything except it doesn't generate your validator keys with the deposit tool, because you should do that separately on a different machine, generate them separately for hashtag security stuff, and then get them back on the server in order to import them into the client. And then you need to manually do the 32 million TPLS deposit on the launchpad. I could probably automate that as well, but it's going to take a lot more code. So, you got to be kidding me. Hopefully this thing is okay. Okay, I thought I was going to shut it down for the first time I've used CodeShare free, so I didn't know what was going to happen. So good, it's just a little advert thing. So you could probably automate that as well, just calling the API, uploading the file, but just use a web browser. It's fine. Again, don't generate your keys on the server, generate them somewhere else, and then import them back to on your client on the server. These are the commands to do that on another machine. Call them out there. Install Python pip. This is your package manager. Use git clone to pull down the staking deposit client repo. Go in that directory, install the requirements, run the setup, and then /deposit.sh and create a new mnemonic. That is I always misspell that word. There's always, I don't know where to put the M's and N's, and crazy, crazy word. Fun fact, did you know the word facetious is the only word, or not, I wouldn't say the only word, it is a word in the English language that contains all of the vowels, all 5 vowels, in order. Learned that from watching Bad Words movie last night, directed by and starring one of my favorite actors. I forgot his name. What's his name? The guy from Horrible Bosses. Chat, help me out. He was in Ozark as well. Amazing actor. Love that guy. Very underrated movie. Nobody saw that movie. Bad Words. Pretty funny. Anyways, facetious. There you go. And then after you generate the validator keys, you run Lighthouse, and you import the keys, and your network is, of course, PulseChain _ Testnet _ v3. After that, so do your validator key generation stuff. The only other thing you need to do is this sets up your beacon and validator clients with Lighthouse. All you need to do after you set it up is import the keys using this command, and then reload reload the daemon, because it's going to generate service files. So I'll show you the service files in a moment, but this is just going to make you do more of a production ready stuff. You can run them via command line, just /lighthouse /geth and all that. But if you want them more in a production quality instead of testing environment, this script does that. It sets up service files that have all the details in it. So this is just going to but you can't enable them and start running stuff until you import the validation keys. So that's why you do this first, and then all the stuff's already created for you, but you just need to enable it and start it once you've imported it. And if you have problems, which inevitably you probably will throughout the process of being a validator, because lots of people run one issue, you got one thing off, something doesn't work, look at the debug logs, and you can use that either by running on the command line without making a service, or if you already have a service, which is what the script does, you can use a journal control to look at the logs and see if you can figure out what's going on. So let's get into the code. That's just the comments. So hopefully that's framed it for you so we can get into the actual code. This basically just checks for 2 arguments in the script. As we mentioned before, you need your ETH address where the fees are going. You need your IP address, which is what Lighthouse needs for validator stuff, the way it's set up. Well, you'll see it when we get down to the command line args. So if you don't, it says try again. Once you have entered those 2 things, these are just some of the variables. So it'll assign fee recipient and server IP address to the first and second arg respectively, as we see here. It will create a node user, which we'll see the command a little bit later on. This is the name. It could be anything. It could be Blazing Glory if you want. I just call it node because that seems appropriate. And then your app packages. These are the ones I figured out, which are the minimum for what you need to get everything working. And then key difference here. Geth chain is PulseChain -Testnet v3 -Testnet -v3 uses dashes. Geth uses dashes. Don't get mixed up on this, because I think I messed it up before and caused me some time trying to figure it out. Like, oh, what's going on? And it's such a simple little thing. And then Lighthouse uses underscores. So Lighthouse is PulseChain _Testnet _v3. Very subtle but important difference. The Geth config, this is just basically we're putting in the op directory and we're using that, and JWT directory is there. That'll be this for the secret we generate so the clients can talk to each other. And then the Geth repo is the Go Pulse repo at the PulseChain com family of repos. I forget what that's called. Is that like an org? Yeah, PulseChain com org. GitLab, GitHub, different things call them different things. And then your Lighthouse directory, you use opt Lighthouse, all different stuff for that. And actually, I don't think we use password file. I could probably remove this. I don't think Lighthouse uses password file. I think that was left over from Prism. So should make a note to remove that. That's it's a good call for me as well. Let's see. I like this. It's like I'm doing a code review with you all and myself. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. What's up, Valley Brand? Good to see you, man. And then we have, this is the repo for Lighthouse-Pulse. So that is the one for that, just like Geth. Repo name, just so I can reuse it later. And Lighthouse port 9000. And then checkpoint you're up. So why do I have these things? Why don't I just put them all in the code? Because if you make them variables, they can vary. I know, mind blowing, right? You can change them easily. And if you use them more than once, the general thing, if you use a static value more than once, then you can just change it to whatever you want. So that package if I just paste this and I use this like 5 times, which I don't, but if I did, it would be very hard to go back and change it, the whole thing 5 times. Why not just make it a variable? And if I want to change it, it changes all the times I use it in code. That's why I use variables. It just makes the maintenance and using the code and changes and stuff like that, it makes it easier and easier for people to figure out what's going on because you're defining everything beforehand that you can. Now you can do overboard, you can variabilize everything. Not really necessary, but that's why I chose to do it. Just a little bit of thing that makes it easier to, stop the script if I need to without getting messy. And then I'm just echoing some stuff. This is stuff printed on your screen. Validator setup, helper script. Again, some steps need to be completed manually. See the notes. I'll talk about this more at the end of the script. And it takes about 30 minutes. I timed it. And on the M2 2X large, the instance I was telling you about that I tested it on, it took around, I want to say 30 to 40 minutes. Could be quicker depending on your bandwidth, could be slower, could take 2 hours, could take 15 minutes depending on the specs of your server, but this is what I tested it with, so that's what I felt comfortable writing there. And then read P just says, send it, put a message here, and you got to hit enter to continue, just so you have time to read what this is saying before the script continues and your terminal is full of stuff. So let's get into it. We're almost in the code. I mean, we're in the code, but not the juicy parts yet. This is just a trick that just to keep track of the directory. Nothing important to explain at least. And then again, each step I echo, hey, here's what's going on, install the requirements, setting up Golang and Rust. I do apt-get update. I automatically install all the app packages. I install Go via Snap, which not important. Why I use Snap instead of apt for the packages. Actually, this could be apt2 instead of apt-get, but it doesn't really matter. And then this is straight up from the Rust website. This is how they tell you to install it. So super easy, just copy and paste that command. And then you source this to make sure you have it in your environment so stuff executes correctly. Then step 2, let's add the node user and generate the client secrets. So this is where we're going to add that user called node to the server. And yeah, none of this, let me know if you want me explaining any of this stuff, but it's not super important. You're just adding a node server there. You're giving it no shell by default, and you're making sure to create a home directory. Yeah, I'm not going to explain every single option, but I'll just, at my leisure, I will talk about them. And then create the JDB secret. This is the stuff the client needs to securely communicate. Don't really need to understand much more beyond that. Lock the secret down. And then step 3, actually install GoPulse. So this is their execution client, Geth. We start syncing the data. We clone the repo. Funny enough, this kept failing. I was like, why does it keep failing? Like, does it literally, because Git is kind of a funny command. It's pulling down code and stuff. And if you run a command after it really quickly and it's not finished, some background process isn't finished, something like that, then it'll actually fail sometimes. So it's so funny. I was like, all right, I'll just sleep for a half a second. It's to make sure you don't fail. So yeah, this is why you test things 100 times to make sure they work. You don't just, or I try not to just write commands out and just hope they work. I try to vigorously test my stuff, and it still, I'm sure, will break in some environments, but yeah, this is within reason. I try to make sure everything runs smoothly. Go to that directory, make. So this is where you start building the code. This starts building the GoPulse directory. And then we add the Geth binary to our path, just so we don't need to type in the full path. We can just type in Geth and it works, because that's how that works. And then make directory P. This means ignore it if it's already there, I believe. So I put that there. And then this is just setting some permissions, nothing fancy. Now we're getting into creating the service. So before I said you can just run it on the command line. Run, if you go to Gamma DevOps, he's got all the commands and stuff right there. I'm sure I'll put some on the blog, and in the docs I've shared before, there's just commands there for you to run the stuff. That works totally fine when you're testing, but if you're in production, if you're in prod, for example, you want to be able to control this. After you've tested it, you make sure it works. You want to be able to control this in a way that's like, start the service, stop the service, tell me the status of the service, give me logs for the service. You don't want to have a terminal open all the time for everything and doing all kinds of stuff around that. This just makes a cleaner deployment of these clients, putting them in a service type atmosphere. So we just name it, tell it dependencies, we tell it what user to run it as. Another benefit of using a service, makes all that stuff easy. Just not very important. And then the actual arguments that go to it. So this is telling it use Geth, use the chain, the PulseChain Testnet v3 and the variables that we talked about before. Tells it the data directory, use HTTP, turns on these different engines and features and stuff. And then use the JWT secret at this location. And then just basically enables the service and tells it to start up, because we can start Geth. We can't start the Lighthouse client yet because we haven't imported the validator keys, because after we run the script, we have to import the validator keys. If you remember what I talked about in the beginning, I'll throw it back to you at the end as well, because that's what I talk about too. So we got Geth set up. Awesome. And the reason I'm talking through this too is, again, you can do all this stuff manually. You don't have to use this script. This is telling you like step-by-step how to set up a validator manually, but I just put it all nicely into code. So you can just run a script and it does it for you. But this is for you to learn how to do it manually as well. So let's get to step 4. Let's set up Lighthouse. That is our beacon and consensus client. There's 2 pieces to that. You'll see down here when we get into the commands. And again, you need to start and enable it manually after generating and importing the validator keys. So with Lighthouse, pretty similar. We clone it, we wait, and then we move it around, and then we build it. And that's probably the longest part of the setup. I think it may take 5, 10, 15 minutes to actually build it, because it's got to pull down a lot of stuff, build some code. Geth is pretty quick if I remember. And then we just create some directories. And then, this is like just a little trick I had to do just to work around some stuff. So I create a symbolic link to the actual binary. Ooh, I need to make that. See, this should be the variable. This should be that. So make myself another little note. Change static home user to, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, it does not matter at all, but I'm just, if you're going to do something, do it. Don't take a lot of short. Have to. These are just simple little stuff you can fix in a minute, just to make it cleaner and everything consistent. What line is that? On line 223. Again, Max is not really a dev. I mean, again, I'm a dev by this community standards, I guess. Not saying you guys have bad standards or anything, but I guess if you think dev is anyone who can write code, then yes. But, in the professional and the tech world and stuff, I could, I would not be nobody would hire me to be a dev. I mean, not nobody, but all the big companies wouldn't hire me to be a developer, because, I have security skills and stuff. But I do write code. So if you want to call me a dev, it's funny. It's just 2 different worlds. It's that I entertain here. Anyways, make a symbolic link to hit up our actual binary with here. So you can execute this. It will actually execute that. And I just thought that was neater than putting this in here. It's actually not even really needed. But again, I try to go for cleanliness and readability and stuff like that as your dev max. And then we do network. Again, the chain we talked about earlier, the data directory, the execution endpoint. I mean, a lot of stuff you don't really need to understand that much. Where a secret is. This is your IP address that you entered in the beginning. This is your fee address. It's your ETH address that you gave as a command line argument, if you remember in the beginning. The different ports we use for Lighthouse, the checkpoint URL to help sync stuff faster, and then enable HTTP. So we do everything we did for Geth, and we enable it, but we don't start it yet, again, because we need to import the validator keys before we start it. And I'll go through the script and I'll look at chat and I can scroll back through it, but just let me get through all of this and I will circle back. And so that was the beacon part. Yeah, I said I was going to highlight that beacon node or beacon network, whatever it stands for. And then this is the validator part, validator client, I assume that stands for. So again, you need both of these running. And then same thing pretty much. I mean, this has a couple commands, where your fees go, what chain you want to use. And then again, here you enable it and you don't start it yet. And this is just some stuff to make sure Lighthouse has the rest environment, just kind of a couple workarounds I had to do. Nothing really notable. And the last step is setting up a firewall. So it's most important to do this. I mean, by default, depending on your OS and stuff, it may not be necessary, may not, as far as locally doing this. Depends on your firewall default settings. But you definitely need to do it on your network firewall, if nothing else. If it's not necessary on your server, it's at least necessary for you to open up on your firewall to make sure that the validators can talk to each other and all that good stuff. And at the end, almost done. Again, this doesn't do 100%. This does 85% of what you need to do once you have your hardware and stuff set up. So you still need to generate your keys on a different machine, import them into Lighthouse. I give you the command to do it right here, as well as in the comments above, I believe. Then make your deposit at the launchpad at this URL. And then start your Beacon and Validator clients, your Lighthouse clients. And hopefully you don't run into any errors. Hopefully you start syncing. Hopefully there's no other bugs or anything. But if there are, you can debug it with the journal control, as I mentioned in the comments above as well. And this is for me. Verify all these steps here. I pretty much have verified that. So I guess I can remove that in the script as well as some of the other stuff I commented out just for testing. Because if you delete it, if you delete it, then you don't have it anymore unless you copy it to another file. But if you comment it out, you can always go back if the new thing you did doesn't work, or you could just kind of use it as a reference to like the next thing you should do. Different ways of using comments. So 1 second, I'll go to the chat and answer any questions you all have. All right, let's go to the chat. See what's up. See if you guys have any questions. Ballet Brand, thanks for doing the course, man. Of course, again, trying to provide value. People find this valuable, they'll show up and consume it, and the karma will increase. But I mean, a lot of people are having trouble with this in the PulseChain chat. I have problems. I post in there, hey, is this bug fixed yet? I'm having this problem. I don't know what this means. I post questions as well. So hopefully this helps some people figure it out. Make it not look so scary. I don't know, if you see a bunch of code, you're not familiar with code, it may look even scarier, but I think we got people trying to make this process easier. I hope to be one of them. David Feeder, Gamma DevOps, what's his name? Togash. I saw he's a dev from, he has a GitHub repo and stuff that has a lot of things on it. And I saw that he posted some stuff as well. Although I didn't see the tweet, I just saw it in the chat. So I don't have a link, otherwise I would share it. But he did some setup script and blog post as well. So shout out to everyone trying to make this easier for people. Jay Pond, PulseX, what's happening? What's happening? Oh, you would get hired. I can train for the interview. X Live, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm currently trying not to have a job. I'm trying to retire early. Maybe if you caught me a few years ago, I'd be more into my interview skills. But trying to go in the reverse, trying to get that early retirement in. You know, so I can figure out what I really want to do. X ready now. I'm just doing the config. Yeah, I just went through the whole code of how to set up a validator. So I'll probably be on for another 20 minutes or so. If you have any questions, let me know. Just so excited how GPT. Man, GPT is getting real. It's ChatGPT 4, very useful. Got a lot of better data. I've heard a lot of people are using it to write blog posts and stuff. I mean, it is your AI assistant, so why not? Why not use it? Humans are supposed to have tools amplify their abilities, right? That's the definition of technology, is doing more with less. ChatGPT seems to fit that definition. Gains Club 369. What's up, Hex man? What's up, Gains Club? Good to see you. Good to see you. J Man, what's happening? Hexkins. I want to do the course. Which course are you talking about? I mean, I kind of gave you a course on, gave you a 25-minute course of validator stuff, but courses are good. I like courses. They teach you stuff. You give people money for value, or you don't give money and get value. Either way, pretty cool. Falk Smelter, in terms of getting copies, which coins outside of the Hex ecosystem do you think will have value on the PulseChain side? Good question. Outside of the Hex ecosystem. Yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, first thing I thought of in Hex ecosystem is, the biggest communities, Hedron, Maximus, Perpetuals, all that stuff. And of course, some other coins, I'm sure. Stuff that's supposed to launch on, or was meant to launch on PulseChain, the meme coins, all that stuff. Outside of Hex. So when I was talking to David Feeder last couple days ago, we had him on stream. I asked him, out of Decentraland, Chainlink, and Sheeb, which communities would come over, or most likely to come over. His answer was Sheeb, which makes sense. It's a meme coin. Get a copy of it. You don't need to switch over any infrastructure stuff natively. Now, maybe if you're building on Sheeb and there's other stuff going on, those community members might have to switch some stuff over to PulseChain. But generally, that one's pretty easy. I would hope, honestly, I like Decentraland as a project. I like the virtual, like it's actually build a working product that you can use. Now, the ETH fees, of course, eat a lot of stuff up. And I'm sure PulseChain, faster, cheaper transactions would help in that regard. But that's one of the real projects that they actually did what they said they're going to do. They said they're going to build this world. They build it. You can own land. You can buy, sell all this stuff. You can play it. Go try it out. If you're interested in virtual world stuff, like go try it out. It actually works. And PulseChain, if they wanted to switch their network and their website over to that, give people that experience, I don't think it'd be that hard. So, and then Chainlink, I mean, that's Oracle stuff. You got to convince, I don't know, like you got to give them a good reason to come over other than mad gains. I think they're focused on the technology, that sort of thing. So I said they would be unlikely, but man, if Chainlink came over, geez, that's one of the biggest, it's a big product on Ethereum. Outside of those three, I don't know. I mean, you could see the meme coin stuff. So that would be the easiest to come over. Maybe the NFTs, maybe some of the bigger ones have value. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which ones. Good question, though. All right. Anyone have any questions on the code? And if you want access to it, well, I'm pretty sure this link should work anyways. So you can use the link. It's pretty easy to copy it right there. But if you want me to actually give you access to the actual GitHub repo that has a couple other scripts that are helpful too, for resetting your validator, for testing, and for helping with EC2, just making these a little bit nicer. There's more stuff where that came from. So I'm going to, let's see. Let's look at Richard's thing again. This may be a very short stream. If you have any questions, get them in, because I think it will be a short stream. If no questions on the code. I know afterwards when people watch it, they may have more questions, but let's see. Let me go back to, I'll just talk about maybe his latest update. So this was a bug that actually affected me on Lighthouse, and I had to wait 2 or 3 days to get my validator. I was like, please, devs, please fix fix this bug that I can't quite figure out. I was like, what is wrong? Why is it not working? And then I was like, oh, and I asked him, the Pulse dev, like, hey, anybody else having this problem? And Gamma is like, it's a known thing. Devs are working on it. Okay. In a couple of days, I was like, hey, any progress on that? I don't see it on the list of issues on the, they're keeping the list of issues for PulseChain stuff. I don't see it on there. So I just want to make sure like they are fixing it, right? It's like, yeah, they're working on it. And then maybe the next day, I got an email from signing up on for GitLab updates, which anyone can do. I've tweeted about it, talked about it a lot. And I got an email saying new version of Lighthouse and Aragon. I was like, oh, great. And then one of the things was fix this bug. I was like, oh, great. I think they fixed my bug. And then I updated the repo, rebuilt the package, ran it, and that bug went away. And I think now I'm just trying to get some stuff synced, but everything else seems to be working. So that was a great update from Richard and team. Yes, all validators who were frustrated, like, why isn't this working? Please update, and that issue has went away. Let's see what else is going on. I think that was the 31st. That was a couple days ago. Mostly about, a lot of regulation stuff. I think that's all PulseChain lately. Yeah, I hope they don't do the Restrict Act. That is ridiculous. Bait and switch, right? Bait and switch. Like, yeah, and it was getting asking for feedback on APY and different variables and stuff too. So I imagine some update coming will be like, we've settled on APY. It is this amount, and more information around that. Let's see. Yeah, so this may happen or it may change. We gotta wait and see on that one. And if you run multiple validators, and maybe that's key. Run multiple validators if you want more earnings and stuff, right? And get in early before the 40K validators. That could be one thing. And hope PLS goes up. That's a general thing that would make validating great again. Yeah, I think that's all the PulseChain updates. I'm sure he'll tweet something tomorrow or the next day or sometime next week of some update. I'd say he's been pretty good, at least every few days, every week updates for the past couple months now. So future performance based on past performance could be a thing. Whoa, yeah, he's even retweeting Wellhex now. Look at this, 116 mil locked up for 10 years. Looks like somebody locked up 116 mil hex. How much is? Let's see the economics real quick. I say real quick, and all of a sudden my internet's like, nope, we slowing down, bro. We slowing down. So 116, 0, 0, 0, 0. That is 9 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, almost $10 million. Somebody just locked up $10 million. That makes sense. 10 million for 10 years, right? Gotta love those stakers or miners or publishers or mentors or burners, or gotta love those people who believe in a product. That is good. All right, Crypto King, what's happening? Do you know, did anyone, I'm going to guess, did anyone have the recommended hardware list for validator? And David had initial list, but says don't buy anything until he gets it running. I don't know if I have a recommended hardware list. I will tell you that for the cloud, I can tell you which instances you can start up. The M2 2x large is one of them. I'll go back to my code for a sec. So if you're setting up in AWS cloud, Then M2 2x large is, I believe, 16 or 8 or 16 virtual CPUs and 32 gigs of RAM. But let me just pull up the AWS specs while we're here, because why not? Be helpful for anyone trying to do that. You don't have to build your own server. You don't have to buy your own server. You can do it in the cloud. I have docs on how to do this. Just let me know. I shared one a couple streams ago on exactly how to set up your cloud instance for this stuff. But of course you can. I like cloud because 100% uptime, they handle all the bandwidth. Of course, you got to pay them by the month. That could be a few $100s per month to run a validator versus, I don't know what you would need, how much it would cost. I'd say probably maybe 2K, 1 to 2K to get a beefy server to be a validator. Just guessing, maybe cheaper, maybe more, depending on what you get. M2, okay. Well, let's do the M2. Where's the M2 line? Where M2 dev? Am I looking at the wrong one? Am I on the wrong thing? Sorry, momentary delay. Okay, let's just go here. Instances advantage. M2 2x large. Okay, it says, oh, that's 4. I thought that was 8. Okay, so 4 is fine. 4 you M2 2x large, and then you can also do M2 4x large, which is basically 8 vCPUs and 64 gigs of RAM. So those are 2 I would recommend for the cloud. Outside of the cloud, I do not know. Lily Lack, can someone please explain all the benefits when receives being validated? I can't find one video on YouTube detailing in depth the benefits. Okay. Good question. The benefits and incentives. So you help secure the network, first of all. So yeah, let's go through benefits first. You help secure the network by validating and spreading the number of validators and nodes over more people, right? If you're an individual person doing it, you are contributing to decentralization of the network. You are helping secure the network by, all your validators are validating transactions, so you're helping it run. Benefits. So these are benefits to the network and community. You're helping support it because if they weren't any validators, then the network wouldn't run, right? Or it'd be slower, all this stuff. And then incentives would be you earn fees. You get to lock up. You lock up 32 million Pulse, and we're not sure when you'll be able to unlock it. Maybe anytime, maybe sometime in the future. We're going to see what Richard does around the Shanghai stuff, whether we take those, we go off that fork or fixes or whatever. So you basically get to earn money validating. Does that match or beat your hardware costs? TBD. That's why we're talking about APY a lot these days. Richard's increasing it, so that should help, but it depends on the number of validators on the network, the number of transactions on the network, the number of validators you're running, and the Pulse price. All those are factors that would be you would factor into understanding how much incentive you have to be a validator. And for me, I don't really care about making money as a validator. I just care about helping the community. I want to help people get the information out here. That's why I'm doing AMAs, right? On a no monetization channel. And I'm intellectually curious about how blockchains work. So spending the last 2 or 3 months going through the Ethereum testnet, going through PulseChain testnet, writing code around it, helps me understand how these things actually work at a technical level, which I think is fun and useful knowledge to know. It's not useful, I'll say that. So those are things. Hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions, because I'm gonna call the stream in within the next 10 minutes. But good question, Lily. Yeah, 9.5 mil, 9.5 mil, amazing. Hex says parabolic price action. Does it have it right now? I don't think it's. I think you need another P in there. You need a potential. Hex has potential parabolic price action. Price action right now doesn't look like parabolic. The trend may be parabolic. I mean, the trend may be, we're going to get started about TA stuff, which I'm not an expert in, but there's a difference between some of the things. 19 cents next stop. Could be. A lot of people think 20 cents around that area. That's a lot of people say. You don't know where to get the Hex PLS PulseX stickers with. Those sound cool. I do not know, but those do sound cool. Prefer to have machine. Yeah, a lot of people, it's all based on your preference. I don't want to take care of a machine. I build enough computers in my life that I don't need to build another. I don't want to use my bandwidth. I don't want it to use my power. I don't want to have to put on backups and stuff. So I pay someone else to do it for me. I rent a virtual machine at AWS. And yeah, everyone, whatever you prefer. Sounds cool to me. I love to geek out on hardware too. I love to, that part's fun. Frenchie made bullies. Do you know PulseChain will be able to fork as if Binance wanted to do for PLS? Do you know PulseChain will be able to fork as if Binance wanted to do for PLS? I'm not sure I understand the question. Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question, Frenchie. Fork PLS. Do you know if PulseChain will be able to fork PLS if they wanted to? I still don't understand the question. So PulseChain used to be a fork of BSC, Binance Smart Chain. And now it's a fork of ETH 2.0. So if you want to reword that, give me some more context, I'd be happy to address it. How to get the most return to Pulse without running Validator? It's a good question. Historically speaking, holding a coin that's not a scam and by founders who have successful other projects, historically, that seemed to be a good idea. You can, I think there's community projects that'll let you stake it or kind of lock it up, but it's not a time lock. It's just a lock, and you can mint stables and stuff from it. Maybe Liquid Loans, Power City, stuff like that will let you do PulseChain and PulseX respectively. Let you do other stuff with it and earn other coins, or at least not sell it and take a loan, all that kind of stuff. You can provide LP. So you can, on PulseX, you can provide LP and earn incentive tokens and earn fees and stuff from it. The most returns, though, I'd say the most return is just for Pulse, since you can't time lock it and get and earn yield like that natively, at least. Maybe there's other projects to build upon it. I would say if let me reframe it. What is the best chance of earning money from your Pulse? I think holding it for a long enough time with like every other coin historically speaking, seems to have the best returns. Even Liquid Hex. I mean, the staking, of course, staking functions as two things. It gives you more yield, gives you T-shares, all that stuff. And it saves you from moments of weakness for selling it. But if you just held Liquid Hex from the bottom, you still have a ton. But who can do that, right? That's why the time lock is such an important feature. So if you can figure out a way, send all your Pulse to a cold wallet somewhere that you have keys to that are safe, but it's really, really hard to get to. It's all about making it hard to get to. Hard. That's what everything's about. Making it hard to get instant gratification and make it easy to delay gratification. If you can do those two things, some form of it with your Pulse, over time, historically speaking, price seems to, these assets seem to appreciate. Crypto King is asking, PulseChain can be forked by Binance. I mean, if that's the question, then anybody can fork anything. Like Richard forked ETH 2.0. Richard forked Binance Chain before, right? Now he forked ETH 2.0. So anyone can fork the code, but we know what's valuable. It's the community. It's the idea. It's the skin in the game that's a sacrifice everyone into. So that's where the value comes from. It's not just the code. But yeah, they totally could. Let's see. Russ, if you're a validator, can you include your own transactions for free or the very low fee? I'm going to say no. I mean, again, I'm trying to like go on the technical side of this. Can you manipulate transactions or prioritize them if you're a validator? No, everyone needs to like agree on that stuff. Unless you own the network, you own most of the stuff, then I guess you have that kind of power. But there's other ways to prevent that, and in the POS system versus POW is different. But in general, if you're validated, can you include your own transactions free? Generally, no. I'll say that. There may be some, maybe you can do some other things that are interesting that don't have anything to do with transactions. But for your own transactions, it's not like you can be like, oh, okay, just pass these on. Everyone needs to agree on what's going on. It's the blockchain deal. All right, everyone. I think we are good. I went through the code. Again, at me on Twitter if you want access to it, along with some other scripts. I'm going to test a little bit more and then release it as far as I know, if all goes well. But hopefully this was helpful to explain how all this stuff works. You should know how you should set up a validator, what this script does, and then the steps you need to do afterwards. So if nothing else is if you never run the script at all, it's documentation for what to do manually. If you run the script and you like to do that, it'll do a lot of stuff for you. But that is all I got for you today. One more question. Thoughts on White Token? I hope the team delivers on everything that they're not telling us about. Or, they're doing the fiat on ramp. They're doing Wait V2. I think it's very important we don't have expectations. And this kind of come from the team, right? Like they don't want us to have expectations of what these stuff will be used for. But I hope they are able to deliver on all the projects that they've made known publicly. And I hope they do some cool fundamentals for all their products. Whether they will or not, I don't know. And but I know a lot of people, they like airdrops. There's opportunities to make these products work with each other. We'll see what they do. It's an unknown. I put it in the category, like if you heard me talk before about the coins that I pay attention to and I like, I mainly focus on category 1 and 2. 1 being the positive feedback loop for the blue chips, Hex, PulseChain, and that would be like Hedron, Maximus, stuff like that. And then second layer would be the utility products, so maybe liquid loans, Power City, things that help give needed features to the ecosystem, maybe fiat, stuff like that. And then third category is like unknown or unclear how they're good for Hex, PulseChain, PulseX, but maybe there's something there, kind of wait and see. I think wait, pun intended, is, or you'll have to wait and see on that one, right? We don't really know. But I hope they deliver very well on all their products. I think they have I'm high on the dev team. They seem to be got their head in the right place. They seem to be great hexagons. I love the ecosystem. So glad to have them on board. All right, everyone. We just hit an hour. So I'm going to sign off. Hit me up on Twitter if you need something or if you have a question or anything at RHMaximalist. And then appreciate your time, support. I'm going to be out for a couple of days. I need a break. And then I'll be back Wednesday with Jake Sharp. And I'm sure we're going to talk about PulseChain stuff. It'll be fun. All right. With that, Scivive and 5555, everyone.